Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I am glad you're here. I appreciate you all. I want to thank all the channel members, and I want to invite any of you guys who are new or haven't had a chance yet. If you're so inclined, please hit that subscribe button down below and that bell notification icon. I'll keep trying to come up with EDC content to bring you guys, and we'll talk about knives and other sharp and pointy things. So today what I wanted to do is walk through the button locks or plunge locks that are still in my collection, which means they're all knives that I really got a place in the feels for the way that they make me feel. And I've got them kind of in a lot of price ranges. I don't have them in the ultra high end, but I figured I'd start with some of my favorite, again, value, I won't say budget, but value priced button locks. Starting off with the Civivi Altus. This was the first button lock by Civivi, I think after the Conspirator, which I really wasn't crazy about because it was the flipper that I really fell in love with. This little knife for a small button lock that's under, I think, 70 bucks. I think it's a Nitro V. Nice G10 handles, really good action. My particular specimen has no lock stick. It's got great action. I can reverse flick it. I can thumb flick it. I push the button and it closes. It might look a little awkward at this camera angle because we are horizontal. But anyways, so the way I figured I would do this is kind of run through my collection of button locks and just let you guys know what I think about them. And I think the theme's going to be pretty much the same because keep in mind, if these button locks, especially these more value ones, are still in my collection and I haven't gifted them out yet or I haven't sold them if they're more expensive, it's because I really like them. So the Civivi Altus fits that bill. It's a great button lock. One of the newer button locks that comes into my collection that, even though the buying experience was less than optimal, the knife itself, even though it wasn't what was described in the ad, is a fantastic knife. This is the CJRB Pyrite. Probably one of the best value button locks that you can get your hands on today. Um, I've not tried the Warncliffe. I've not tried the other CJRB, the Echo. I think that's what it's called. But I can tell you that this pyrite, and this is the one with the titanium skins, not the steel. It's got steel liners and titanium skins. It is about as smooth and as slicey and as comfortable, is just as smooth as just about any that I have. And this knife came in, I want to say, under $64, something like that. And you can get it in G10 or other materials for much less than that. So it's a newer one in my collection because I brought it in because I'd heard so many good things about it. But I have a feeling it's going to keep its place in my collection because I do enjoy it that much. I really like this knife. So that's the CJRB Pyrite. Moving on, we'll go to another value price knife that came into my collection, courtesy of brother Lefty EDC. And this is the first version of the Vostede Raccoon. And mine is a stiff one. It does not have button lock fail or plunge lock fail. But this knife, when Lefty sent it to me to check out, I really didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but I've held on to it and I've really enjoyed it. I carry it. I cut with it. I think the action is done very well. I enjoy fidgeting with the knife. It comes in that same probably $65 to $70 range. And this Vostede Raccoon has now been made in a liner lock, and I think it's even been made in their bar lock. But like I said, I never had any failure issues, as you just saw me beat the spine of this one on my mat. But it's just a great specimen, has a fantastic sharpening choil. It's in 14C28N, and it's got nice micarta handles, very smooth button with a nice little ring around it. It's got a little offset ring, so it even looks a little bit more refined when you give it a close peek there. But yeah, the Vostede Raccoon button lock, I know there's some out there that were less than great. Mine happens to be great, and I think it is just a fantastic plunge lock slash button lock. So moving on, we come to the first button lock that came into my collection, the Orion Solaris. This knife was probably one of the first 10 knives that came in my collection, and the first knife that came in my collection that was initially 100% led, the 100% cause for me buying this was the fact that it was a YouTube creator. I'd seen some reviews on it. Um, I wanted to know more about it. I liked the look of it. It had G10 scales at the time. That was another thing that I think is brilliant about this knife. But it was the Orion Solaris. It is in 14C 28N. It's got a really tall, flat ground blade. Came with black G10 scales, but then they sold these kind of carbon fiber old school scales on their website for, I want to say, 40 bucks, maybe 35 bucks. It was a very economical price. And I ended up picking up some of these scales, which led to my first ever scale swap. So this knife, there are a lot of firsts that this knife kind of holds in my collection game. But when it comes right down to it, it's got a flipper, it's got thumb studs, both of which deploy the knife very surely, very good, or very acutely, I guess you'd say. Neither one of those words are right. But guys, I'm recording this on a Sunday. You can't hate me. But anyways, this knife, the Orion Solaris, is one that will always be in my collection. I have not gotten the smaller version yet. I can't even, I'm not even going to guess it. I can't think of the name. But the Solaris is a button lock. First one that came in my collection that led to my first scale swap. It was one of my first 10 knives. And again, my first real YouTube inspired purchase. And it's one that's been a good one. So Orion Solaris, I'm glad it's in my collection and I plan to keep it here. And as we move on up the ranks or through the ranks, we come to this Tucson here. This Tucson is the Tucson TS 338 in D2. It is, yes, in D2. It's got the Tucson pivot. It's got a titanium bolster. Very nice micarta, natural kind of linen micarta. And then it's got these big overbuilt thumb studs that allow you just to really flick this knife, whether you reverse flick it or thumb flick it. The detent, when it's closed, it locks in, but if you get it when it's bouncing, you got to make sure it's locked in there. It really works well. It's kind of on the smaller size of an EDC knife, but I say that with a little word of, I guess, caution because it is a wider knife. So small only in length. When you talk about a hand filling knife, it actually fills the hand very nicely. It's got a nice clip point blade. Again, it is treated D2. It's very sharp. It basically, I love to carry this as an EDC knife. It's got a great clip. It is a little wider, but if you're looking for a more meaty carry, something in the realm of a Migueron Moirel or a Chavez, something that's, not built to be lean, but still built to be mean, this is a really, really good knife. Comes in under, I want to say under $100. The TS 338, it's definitely worth to check out. I think you can get it on Amazon. I got this at White Mountain Knives because I could use my Javon 10 discount code, save 10%. So moving on, we've got another really good knife that was designed by Dr. Yu, the Kaiser Cormorant. And the Cormorant or Cormorant, however you want to pronounce it, in terms of fidgetability, is probably as good of a button lock as I have for multiple deployments. Very fidgetable, very nice. I don't mind the look of it. A lot of people think it looks like a sad penguin. To me, it's just been a really good knife. It's cut through tons of stuff. It's got very nice ergos. It's got a very neutral grip. It's got nice jimping. It's even got a little poon back here, depending on where you choose to grip it. Hollow ground blade. I want to say this blade is in S35VN, which it is. This knife, I want to say, was around $119, so it crosses that $100 mark. But again, with that, you're getting multiple methods of deployment. You're getting S35VN, but now you can get this knife with micarta and 14C, I believe, for much less than $100. So again, it's very affordable and it's very fidgetable. If the look doesn't detract you, it's a knife that I could definitely recommend because I've enjoyed it, my time with it at least. So moving on, we will go to my second button lock that came in my collection and my first premium button lock, and a button lock that I chased forever because of the hype. This is actually the second Malibu that I've had in my collection, and in my opinion, the hype is 100% real. This is the first or the second best button lock in my collection. It's got detent like no others. I've heard some people say that theirs are snappy or not snappy. It's a flipper only, which normally would, at this stage of the game, make me not really desire it as much because I'm not a flipper only guy. But this knife feels so good. It it cuts so well. It's just a great knife. This is the Magna Cut, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. No, this is 20 CV with textured handle. I had an original 20 CV aluminum that I sold out to a brother from another mother. Didn't think I needed two in the collection. They were looking. Um, do I wish I had it back? Not really, but it was a great knife. And the fact that I've gotten two of these that were just perfect, and this one's just fantastic. I love it. When I got it, it was about right around $200. I know they've gone up now. Um, I want to say they're about 260 now, but again, just a fantastic knife. That's the ProTech Malibu. Fast forward about 2 years, I'm at the Blade Show in Nashville, and I bump into David over at ProTech, and he has the ProTech Mordax, the Fair and Forge collaboration without Drop's involvement this time. It's just ProTech, Fair and Forge creating the Mordax. I think it's a thinner blade with what he described to me was a little bit thinner grind. This knife is like the ProTech Malibu in action. It's got the flipper tab that actuates very easily. The button lock or plunge lock pulls that blade right back in. Nice Magna Cut blade. Has a nice snappy detent, if that's what you want to call it, with the button lock. But I think it's tuned very, very well. I've enjoyed this knife. It's either my second, if not my first. The ProTech Malibu still holds a special place in my heart, but the ProTech Mortax is just a fantastic knife. Which brings us to my final button lock, and probably my most enjoyable button lock, even though it might not be my favorite. This is the Max Ace Midnight Cat Studios collaboration, the Babylon version 1. This is the version 1 of the Babylon that doesn't have that safety there, which I didn't ever need the safety. I'm not left-handed, but this knife is, when you talk about how a knife makes you feel, this knife makes me smile every time I put it in my pocket, every time I open it, every time I cut something with it, every time I just fiddle around with it. It's M390 titanium, has this nice belt satin grind blade that's super slicey. It's got both thumb studs and that deployment hole, so it works great for a middle finger flick, for a thumb flick. However you want to open this knife, it'll open. And when you want to close it, it locks shut like a bank vault. So it is just an absolute dream. It is definitely one of my top three, and I think my top three without question would be the Babylon by Max Ace and Midnight Cat, the ProTech Mordex, and of course the ProTech Malibu. But I've got a lot of other button locks that I wanted to share with you guys, all that are fantastic knives. If you've experienced plunge locks or if you haven't experienced plunge locks, feel free to try out any of those that I ran through because all of those have stayed in my collection for a while. They were bought by me with the exception of the raccoon, which was sent to me by a lefty, but I really loved it, so I've hung on to it. And guys, I just appreciate you being here to watch the video. I ask that you look out for the guy or gal to your left, that you look out for the guy or gal to your right, that you take care of one another and look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.